Yan. Hello Comics people, ako si Mel Casipit and welcome to Indie Comics Podcast. Kasama ko ngayon si N.P Alfaro. Hello sir.
Hi, but you can call me Josh.
So yung comics ni Josh ay Kontra Against Evil. Yan. It's a new comic from N.P Alfaro, Josh, and Board Sinaban. But I also see some other names here. Can you tell us something about the other collaborators for the book?
Yeah, sure. So I'm working with Board Sinaban and also Azam Raharjo from Malaysia. He's an Indonesian comics artist as well. He's focused on horror and he's heavily influenced by Junji Ito. He's a huge fan of cosmic horror as well, and you'll see a lot of Ito-esque influences in the aswang in my story.
Okay. When I browse the book, I see here that this is the artwork of Board Sinaban. Where is the art of Azam here in this book? Is he the inker or?
Azam is primarily the inker, but he drew the aswang in the story.
Oh, okay.
But while Borj, his art style defines most of the story, like human characters, the background, and all that. But Azam draws primarily the aswang in every appearance.
Oh, okay. What about Micah Myers and Luis Castillo Silva?
Micah Myers is our letterer.
Oh, okay.
I met him through Luis. He's a friend of Luis, and Luis is my publisher. He's also one of my closest friends too, and my writing mentor, and also my publisher in the U.S. So if you're into like indie comics, queer, LGBT stuff, you can go check him out at luiscastillosilva.com.
Is this your first comics ever, or have you already created other comics before?
This is my first work, my first published work actually. Before this I was a sci-fi writer, but I never really published my work. I never finished a single work until this one. And this is my first horror comic too.
Para sa mga nanonood, you might observe that he's speaking English. So because he's from the US. So can you tell us something about how did you discover comics locally and internationally? When did you start?
I'm mostly influenced by anime. I like to watch anime. Kontra was influenced by Claymore, the old anime from I think the early 2000s. Just the whole monster hunting thing. I'm really into that stuff. And the Filipino part came in when I saw Trece on Netflix.
Okay.
And that also
Budget
Tan and Kaho.
Yeah.
And
so you watched the Netflix series and then got interested?
Yeah, and it made me interested in reading the comics too, the Trece comics.
How did you find the difference between the printed comics and the anime?
See, that's part of my inspiration for writing this too. I thought that the Netflix adaptation washed out all the culture that makes it Filipino. And then when I read the comics, I was just astounded by how authentic it was, how gritty it was, and how it depicted Manila.
So I assume you prefer the comics from the anime.
Yes.
Yeah,
but I like the Netflix anime too, but the comics is my favorite.
Yeah, it's much better than the anime. However, we are actually grateful that there was an anime adaptation. But
definitely, I wouldn't have found it without it.
Yeah, I just wish that they were more true to the source material.
Definitely, yeah.
Kontra Against Evil is set in the Philippines. You said cosmic horror, right?
Well, that's Azam's thing. That's his favorite genre.
Okay.
But we brought him onto this project because he's a really good horror artist. The whole aswang design really fits his niche.
So how long did you write the Kontra Against Evil issue 1 story?
It took me about a year to write. During the pandemic, I wrote Kontra, I think in 2020. And it sat around for a while, and then in 2022, I got the team together. I reached out to Borj. I found him through Luis.
Okay.
Luis really liked his artwork, and I started, lurking on his social media, buying his books, reading them. And I'm like, this guy's perfect for this project.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to Azam because I also found him on Twitter. I'm a huge fan of cosmic horror. And Azam's work, like cosmic horror is a common theme in his work.
Yeah.
So, that's how I found him. And then, he's a good horror artist. And then we got the one and only Borg Sinaban on here.
You mentioned earlier that Azam Rahario is heavily influenced by Junji Ito. What about you? Who are your influences?
I think my main influence, the art direction for the comic, closely follows that of Attack on Titan. A lot of the expressions, the facial expressions, comes from references from the anime. A lot of the briefings I wrote for the script are just straight screenshots I took from like seasons 1 through 4. But the idea of a monster huntress going around slaying like creatures of the night, I got that from Claymore and Castlevania.
Yeah. Actually, the book really looks nice. So, what are your future plans for the book? How many issues do you envision for Kontra Against Evil series?
There's currently 6 issues planned, although I might condense some of them into a single issue. So 5 to 6 more. That's like 5 to 6 more years of working on this project.
I also see here that this is published by Komiket, and you also mentioned that there is a US version.
Yeah.
So the US version came first before this one, right?
Yes.
So how did you approach Komiket, or did Komiket approach you that they're interested in publishing the book?
Komiket or Paulo Eras reached out to me through Borg, and because he had worked with Borg before. He wanted to feature more of Borges' work as well. And then, that's an interesting story, because originally Paulo didn't want to publish Contra because it wasn't a finished product. He wanted to publish the full volume.
Yeah.
But I pitched the story to him and he liked it, and he's like, okay, we'll publish it in individual issues. It'll be a test to see if people like it or not.
And then after the maybe 6 issues, you'll compile it into one book. Is that
one big manga tankobon?
Nice.
That's my dream.
So this is the version published in the Philippines, and there is another version, an English version.
In America.
Yeah.
In America only. So right now, Contra is only published in the U.S. and in the Philippines.
Okay. And there will be the same issues. Like if there's 6 issues here in the Philippines, the same exact comics will also be published abroad.
Yes.
But in English.
Yes.
Is it exactly the same, or the U.S. version is bigger?
It's exactly the same, except the English version was crowdfunded through Kickstarter. So to reward our Kickstarter backers, thank you very much for those who are watching. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
We wouldn't have done it without you guys.
Yeah.
The Kickstarter version has a couple extras, like concept art from both Borg and Azam, and some behind-the-scenes looks into our production process.
Yeah. Maybe in the future, when you already publish the book, or maybe after this convention, you can invite them to go here to the Philippines, Luis and Azam.
Yeah.
Do they have any plans to go here?
I haven't asked Azam, but Luis has said that he's definitely interested in visiting one day. And if he comes over, we'll bring him over to Komiket and have him table with us for sure.
What are your advice or pieces of advice for aspiring writers, comics writers or artists who wants to publish their own comics?
Well, for one thing, you need to make time for writing. For me, I always say I'll do it after work, or I'll do it on the weekend, and it never happens. You need to make time, otherwise you're never going to be able to finish a project.
Yeah.
So my whole life I've been writing, but only until now that I make time and force myself to finish something. Another piece of advice is to start social networking, and I don't mean like specifically on the internet.
Yeah.
You have to meet people. For me, overcoming that, like, I'm pretty antisocial and shy most of the time, but I really had to overcome that to meet the right people to help me complete this project and get this far. And another one, the third final one, you need to be humble, especially when you're working with people who know more than you. The point of working with more experienced people is to learn from them. So never try to pretend that you know more than the people who are teaching you, and then that way you can create like the best product you can possibly create.
Very good advice. You mentioned earlier that this is your first comics convention here in the Philippines.
Yes. Actually, in general.
In general?
I've never been to a comics
Not
convention.
even in the US?
No. I was gonna go to one before here, but I got sick, so yeah.
That's too bad. But anyway, at least you're here, and the venue is great. We're here at Komiket, Mega Mall. Yeah, congratulations to your new book, and I'm looking forward to reading the next installments of the book.
Thank you.
Where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at N.P Alfaro, N.P Alfaro. It's the same everywhere on the internet, or you can go to contracomic.com.
Contracomic.com. Yeah. Thank you so much, Comics people. Thank you, N.P Alfaro. Thank you, Comics people. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Indie Comics Podcast.